Piccolo Sonio. Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Nicole Johnson from Jerusalem, and we are ready to start talking about the absolutely insane events of today. And I've got three major things to cover, and I was going to ask you, what would you rather start with? Would you rather start with the massive barrage that is now unfolding right as we speak? Hezbollah is unleashing the rest of its arsenal. I don't know. And this has been like warned. This was Israel warned about this for hours now, that they were going to start this. So now it's begun. And so we could talk about that. We're also going to talk about two key assassinations that Israel claims that they made today. Two key leaders in Iran, and also Iraq. What is happening over there? And that's another thing we have to talk about. So anyway, so we've got these three things. I think we are going to start with, in lieu of a vote, unless you guys tell me where you would rather start. I think we start with what happened this morning, because we woke up to the news that Israel said that it targeted the head of the Basij police unit. His name is Gholam Reza Soleimani. No relation to Soleimani, who the U.S. took out, I think, in 2020. So no relation to him. I just want to say hi, Carol, and hi, Rodlin. And if I'm saying hi to Carol, I'm sure I'm saying hi to John. And so, hey, guys, thanks for joining. Okay, so they started out by saying they took out the head of the Basij. Now, Basij is a branch of, or it's under the IRCJ, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and they are the police militia that is responsible for carrying out the directives to quash the protests. They are the ones who repress the protesters, who arrested, used deadly force against them. And of course, not just during the protests. So that is the specific job of the Basij, which is part of the IRGC. And so they said they took out the head of this. Now, we've been talking about in recent days how Israel's new strategy is to launch drones over the checkpoints that have been set up out in the streets. They're actually not just targeting buildings, that was going on for a while, but now they're targeting the Basij on the ground, these officers on the ground. These are guys that ride two to a motorcycle, one driving and one ready to shoot. And so this, I have some stuff we're going to read to talk about like them and what they do. But also want to say hi to Melody from Atlanta, and Walter and Mary. Welcome. I missed you last few days. And Mike, good to see you as well. Okay, so no sooner had that broken this news. The news broke that they took out the head of the Basij. Then they say that they believe that they also have killed, and then they declared that they killed Ali Larijani, who is basically the de facto leader of the regime right now. He was second to the Ayatollah, Ali Khamenei, and he was basically running the country. I mean, nobody knows, or we haven't heard from Moshtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Ayatollah, who was assassinated also by Israel. So anyway, they said that I saw the news pop up as I was recording my morning update. And then I was like, all right, so now I have to change this. But I will just have you know that this has not been confirmed. Israel is talking about it like, okay, yes, we did it, we confirmed it, but it has not been confirmed by Iran. And also, if you check a lot of the media, they are, still saying like Israel says that this happened, and they are not confirming that he was killed yet. So, and Iran hasn't confirmed yet either. But okay, and hi to Callie. Um, yeah, I'm also glad you're catching these live. That's really cool. It's like we can wave from across the city in a way. So, yeah, so he was the one representing Iran in the nuclear negotiations, is what Mike is saying. So it's interesting, the stuff I've read about him. Now, I don't know enough, and, this is just what I read today, but some people are characterizing him as more pragmatic and less hardline, and that he was more like the president who is still alive, Masoud Pezeshkian, who was more conciliatory. And if you remember, like a couple days ago, because we're only on day 18, so like maybe it was last week or so, the president of Iran said, oh, we apologize to our Gulf brethren for for shooting at you. We didn't really mean it. And actually, we're just aiming at the American assets there. So, and then apparently the hardliners in the government were upset with him, and he had to walk it back. And so, anyway, now, so if this turns out to be true, now you would think, and of course, a lot of the assessment in Israel is that, well, if you've taken out now the head of the Basij, and then you took out the head of the government, we don't know where the current head of the government is, Moshtaba, and now you took out the de facto head of the government, then it's going to crumble. Not so fast. I was in a briefing today with a former Mossad agent, and she was talking about how this regime is built, and that it is not going to crumble just because you take out the top leadership. She said the regime is basically built like, like a starfish, like when it loses its arm, it regrows it. This is kind of how the Islamic Republic is built. And just to read a little bit about like what she said, let me see. She said that survival of the regime is the most important goal. Everything else in the country can be rebuilt. So right now, things are getting blown up, weapons caches, possibly nuclear sites. I mean, I can't even tell you specifically all the things that are being targeted right now, but there are targets and there are bombing runs every day by Israel and by the US. But she said they're not so interested in the infrastructure and the weapons. The survival is the regime. The regime needs to survive. That is the important goal. She also talked about if there is a collapse, if they feel it will collapse. Okay, she said if they feel like the collapse is nearing, rather than allow the collapse or take the risk at fighting, she predicts that they will go to the Americans to negotiate. And then obviously America will be in a much better position. But that is how strong the sense of survival of the Islamic regime is. She was very pessimistic about there being a possibility of regime change, whereas I can see a lot of analysts are running with the fact that, now that they've got these other two leaders and can apparently assassinate anybody, that they're just gonna crumble right now. And she said this doesn't crumble. So one of the questions that I asked was, well, there are talks right now. There's articles in the press about defections from the IRGC and from Basij and from, from military, from police, that people are just abandoning their posts. And also that Israel, I think they put out a number like 300 besieged that they killed in these drone strikes. I mean, I have to check that for sure, but around that number, and also the defections was like, I don't know if it was a percentage or a number. So then let's put that in context of what? I mean, 300 is a lot in maybe like a small city or a small town, but what does 300 mean in all of Iran, in all of the 90 million population, and how many people, what is the IRGC made of? She said that it's 1 million. The number of employees is 1 million. Therefore, 300 is nothing. And that's why she was saying that though the regime might be weakened, it's still not enough to bring about regime change. So anyway, let's, I don't know what you do with that. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it, because the opinions are really from one extreme to the other. And I'm listening to a lot of them. And honestly, I have no idea where to take it or what to think. I find it very interesting, though, her perspective of the regime as being an entity that rebuilds itself and that is actually engineered to rebuild itself and to survive. So that's fascinating to me. Anyway, so let's see a little bit about who these people are. I mean, this is I think this is confirmed by many, that Gholam Reza Soleimani, who they're saying who Israel said it killed in strikes, played a key role in the brutal repression of protesters in Iran over the past 6 years. He was the commander of the besieged forces, a hardline volunteer force of 700,000 people operating in the defense of the Islamic Republic. So I think when I give that 1 million number, it includes not just the forces, but like other personnel as well. So I think, and that's pretty close. So, and by the way, I love everybody saying, yes, he wasn't related to Qasem Soleimani, who was the IRGC commander, and who was killed by President Trump in 2020 in a strike ordered by President Trump. So just a little bit about him, or a little bit about the Basij. They played a role in the killing of thousands of protesters during nationwide anti-regime demonstrators in January, according to the U.S. government and the EU, both of which sanctioned some of its leaders. Soon after taking the helm of the paramilitary force in July 2019, Soleimani helped suppress unrest triggered by Iran's economic crisis. In October 2022, the UK blacklisted him as an architect of another brutal crackdown, this time against protesters seeking to end Iran's laws governing the wearing of the veil. All right, now let's talk about Ali Larijani. Let me replace. Oh, somebody said you want to talk about the missile barrage first. All right, no, we're just gonna go this, because actually it died down right now. It was actually going on for a while. Okay, so this is a post by Masi Ali Nejad. Masi Ali Nejad. Okay, so she is an expat Iranian exiled in the US. She is very outspoken against the government. And she wants to talk about Ali Larijani. Let's remember who Ali Larijani was. By the way, he was the leader of the Supreme National Security Council of the Islamic Republic. Okay. She says he wasn't some harmless bureaucrat. He was a national security boss, key architect of the brutal crackdown on Iran's recent protests, which resulted in the massacre of more than 32,000 unarmed Iranians. When someone responsible for that level of brutality is removed, it's not a tragedy, it's a sign of justice for defenseless victims. In this photo, he is next to Moshtaba, the regime's new self-appointed supreme leader. So let's see if I have any other. I'm not sure if I have any other screens open about him, but I do want to go to the homepage of Iran International because Iran's guards confirmed the death of Basij chief Soleimani. And let's see if they have anything about Larijani. It says the assassination of Larijani was made possible thanks to valuable intelligence that Israeli intelligence services received from. Oh, I missed it. Received from, I think it said Iranians around, Iranians on the ground. From residents of Tehran over the past 24 hours, an Israeli official told Iran International. I think I have another one. Let me see. Let's see. Is this? Nope, that is not. Oh, I guess I don't have another one. I thought I did. Okay. Did CNN have anything? Let's see. Yeah, CNN. Okay. The headline was tricky. Okay. Ali Larijani, the head of Iran's National Security Council, whom Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said was eliminated Monday night. No, he said it. Oh, maybe it was eliminated Monday night, but he said it today, Tuesday morning, had emerged as one of the most important figures in Iran in recent months. First, he was seen as a significant leader in the suppression of popular protests in January, and then as part of the transition that followed the death of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. The 67-year-old had a long association with the IRGC and had become a visible emblem of the regime, even taking part in a public rally last week in Tehran, despite being a prime target for Israel. Yes, he was out there. So many of them were out there. The president, Pezeshkian, was out there. And meanwhile, Israel was like bombing something in the background where they were having this like Jerusalem Day, Al-Quds Day demonstration. He was commander in the IRGC during the war with Iraq in 1980s. He served as the head of the state broadcaster. He was the chief nuclear negotiator and speaker of Iran's parliament for 12 years until 2020, and increasingly had the ear of Khamenei on security issues after his appointment as an advisor in 2004. He returned to prominence after the June 12-day war with Israel as the head of the National Security Council, regarded by many analysts as the top decision maker of Iran. Was that something?
Maybe.
All right. Yeah, we're hearing sounds outside, but so far we're not seeing so many rockets or missiles coming in. So anyway, I mean, you guys can go and read about him for sure and see, what you can. Anyway, it's all about him right now, but he has not necessarily been confirmed killed. It's just what Israel's saying. Okay, so we got missile barrage. Jerry, thank you. And IRGC is built to withstand this type of pressure. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm hearing. And it seems that so far they are, or they have. So, okay, well, if so, I was going to, like you would think then that the talk, okay, if these two are eliminated, so what's next? Well, Israel says they have 6 weeks worth of targets left on their list. So the other day I had said that Israel was saying that, oh, it's going to be at least 3 more weeks. Now this morning, one of the military leaders said we have 6 weeks worth of targets. So this could go on for a while if this is how it's going to continue. But as this analyst from the Mossad had said, it's possible that this will just force them into negotiations. And if that's the case, if they go to negotiations, then the regime will survive. Now, of course, there have been a lot of calls to people to rise up when they get the chance, and the people were rising up anyway in January. But right now they're staying home, and even the Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, is saying, stay home now, but be ready. So anyway, we'll see what happens over there. I think it's very hard to know what is actually going on over there. Okay, so now let us talk about the barrage. Although, if this is it, what I'm looking at, then I would say there's not much to talk about right now. But let me tell you what happened. Okay, so what happened was there was this evening or this afternoon a warning by the Israeli military that they have detected that Hezbollah is about to launch a massive barrage on Israel. And they said this actually in public. Usually it's something that you find out or just the local authorities know, and it's not like a mainstream thing. But actually, I had my daughter and her friend came over, and they're like, oh, they ended the class early because some girls had to get home because there's going to be a lot of missiles tonight. And I was like, what? Like, how do you guys know that? Like, I'm not telling them the news on purpose, but they knew it. So anyway, and by the way, right now, there was just detected a launch from Iran, actually. So, so the army announced this, and they said that we're doing our utmost to go after the threat right now. So then a couple hours later, there was another statement by the army saying that we have taken out 200 rocket launchers. So concurrent to the attacks being stepped up, and actually the military warning the people about it, then they're also going after whatever threat that they see, but apparently no, they're not going to be able to get it all. So anyway, this was just crazy, but it was enough for many people to shut down their plans tonight. Now, I can't say that Jerusalem will be affected. I mean, we're pretty far, but you never know. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to find that statement. There were also attacks today on more besieged units today. This is what they're saying. Wow, so much has happened today. In recent hours, the IDF has detected expanded preparations by the Hezbollah terrorist organization to launch rocket barrages toward the state of Israel in the coming hours. The IDF is operating in order to thwart Hezbollah's activities. The aerial defense array and IDF soldiers deployed along the border are alert and prepared, both in defense and in offense. The public is requested to follow the defensive guidelines. Okay, that was at 4 p.m. Then there was another statement the IDF spokesman, Effie Defrin, said the IDF will not allow any harm to the residents of Israel. We are striking Hezbollah with determination at this very moment. We don't usually get, like, they don't usually send real-time updates like that. Then, next, that was at 4:40. Next message. Among 3 different areas in Lebanon, or across 3 different areas in Lebanon, the IDF struck dozens of Hezbollah infrastructure sites. And then they describe them, and they say 3 launch command centers, launch sites. Okay, and that was at 4:47. Then moving on to Iran, because this is interesting, because then the IDF also put out a statement saying that following the elimination of the commander of the Basij unit, the IDF is striking Basij unit posts that were deployed across Tehran. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen videos, but Iranians are apparently playing, like, from their phones or from radios or whatever, like speakers. They're playing the sound of drones outside, like out the window, so that the units will hear this, and then they'll be like freaked out, like looking for a drone overhead. And there have been a couple of videos. Now, again, none of them I can confirm that, yes, this really happened. Yes, this is Iran. No, it's not AI. I cannot confirm, but there's several out there. And I mean, if so, they have quite a sense of humor. Okay, so, but then the IDF put out another statement where continuing to locate and eliminate operatives of the Basij. Over the past day, the unit's commander was eliminated and more than 10 Basij posts were struck. I guess that's just a more detailed one after that, very long. And then at around 8:50 p.m., the rocket barrage began. And I don't know how to tell you how many there were. I don't know if they put up numbers, but it looked like dozens at a time. And then it sort of died down. Of course, there's one now. I don't know if that's a lot. Oh, and that could be the one coming from Iran, not Hezbollah. So then they said actually that simultaneously that they were also eliminating launch sites, rocket launchers in Lebanon that are of Hezbollah. So anyway, all right. So that's that. So now there's a lot of rockets. There's a lot of sirens going off around the country. That must be the south.
Yeah, south.
Okay, so this is for an Iranian missile going on right now.
Somebody's asking, Farah is asking them why running? Stay and find out.
Well, we're not. We don't. Do we look like we're running? We're running to bed. Okay, so. Oh, Nahal Oz. This is actually like, no way.
That's like the Gaza.
Yeah, it's the Gaza border. Yeah, so this looks like it's going like down south. This is even like closer to the Egyptian border, this last one. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about Iraq, because I think it's something to pay attention to. There were drone attacks last night on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And though I have not heard any reports of any American personnel or military being killed, it seems like some Iraqis were killed. Now, there are several Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, and I am not the expert on this, but there's an Israeli-Russian woman, a researcher, who went to Iraq to research like these groups that, and she was writing her papers on this, and she's an expert on this issue. So she went there. She ended up getting kidnapped, and she was held, I think, for 2 years or something like that, and was released somehow, like during the war with Gaza, Israel Gaza, and she was held by one of these groups, and that may have been there was an assassination attempt last night by, I think, the Americans against a militia leader. And they believe it might be the leader of the group that was holding her. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of her story. Elizabeth Surkov, she is Russian Israeli. This is a picture of her, and this is an article in the New York Times. And they talk about the torture she experienced, especially in the first few years. Okay, so she was 2.5 years in captivity, handcuffed, hung from a ceiling, and beaten senseless, electrocuted. She was also sexually abused. She was whipped. She was held by Kataib Hezbollah, the most powerful of the Shiite Iran-backed paramilitary groups that hold sway in Iraq. She said she had decided to share a story, this is with the New York Times, to give voice to Iraqis who have been tortured by the group. Her experience speaks to how freely Kataib Hezbollah, which the United States has designated a terrorist organization, has been able to operate in Iraq. While thousands of the militia's members draw salaries from the Iraqi state, the government has little, if any, influence over its activities. So I would encourage you to read the whole story. I just saw this. When did this come out? Where is the date on this? November 5th. So it's just like 3 or 4 months old, something like that. But it would be, I definitely want to read this article. So I would encourage you to look her up and to read about her story and what happened. So anyway, okay, so I think that brings me to the end of everything I have to say today. I think there's like a lot of big but unconfirmed news and a big barrage, and either we're still waiting or it fizzled out or it was destroyed. So I feel very anticlimactic after a very dramatic headline. But anyway, the fireworks could still happen. I don't know. Okay. Well, I don't know if anybody has any questions or any comments or anything you want. All right.
Your father had asked you a question.
He did? I didn't see.
Any more talk about the Kurds attacking?
Oh, interesting. Oh, I see it. Wow, I missed a couple comments. Okay. No more talk, at least in the circles of news that I peruse. I haven't seen much about the Kurds. One headline I saw like 2 days ago was that the Kurdish leaders seem to be divided on whether or not it would be good for them to go into Iran and do anything. So I have no idea about them. And I'm wondering why we're not hearing about them anymore, because that was like the big story during the first week was like, oh, the Kurds are going to go in and what's going to happen. And then is Turkey going to turn on them? And then, because that was like the big deal. Like if Turkey got involved with the missiles that were flying at them, and then if they decided to retaliate, they would essentially be joining like with the US and Israel, with whom they do not have very good diplomatic relations right now. And then after that, they would be against them probably in terms of like backing the Kurds or attacking the Kurds. So crazy. Yeah.
Somebody else asked you a question.
Did schools reopen? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. I just saw that. Trinda, did schools reopen? Well, Israel has set up this traffic light system, red, yellow, green. And so if you're living in a red area, no, definitely not. I don't know if they have green areas, but there's some schools reopened under very strict requirements, like there has to be a bomb shelter, has to be accessible, this much, whatever. And we did see there was a siren alert, and we saw kids running through the playground to go to the shelter. So I'm not really sure. I think it's in the eastern side of the country that anything would be open, like very limited. So now in Jerusalem, maybe Jerusalem's yellow, they are opening special ed tomorrow. So if your kid goes to special ed, they have some kind of school. They do not have a bus. And also, some schools don't have a good enough shelter. So, for instance, my son's school is not opening in its building. They had to get another school building, which is going to stay closed for the foreseeable future for those kids, for those students. And so they are going to be learning in shelters in that other school building. And learning, not really sure how it's going to work because it's not the usual classrooms. They don't have their equipment, and it's a public shelter. So if a siren goes off, the people of the neighborhood will be joining the kids in this special ed school in this public shelter where they're doing a makeshift school. So anyway, not yet. And there was, like, today, we even in Jerusalem, we had a siren in the middle of the day. And there's still, if you saw the story about the Holy Sepulchre, where debris from an intercepted missile fell, the Holy Sepulchre, also the Dome of the Rock complex, and all around the old city. I mean, debris falls and can be very damaging. Like it doesn't have to be the missile itself, but it will also be the debris that is coming from the intercepted missiles. So even today there was one, and it's hard to think of like hundreds of thousands of kids going back to school at a time where they will all have to be running simultaneously to a shelter because it's not so stable yet. So
What is it?
do they have a boom box? I don't know who. I don't think so. Didn't they go out with the 80s? I don't know. Now don't you have a JBL instead? I don't know how it works.
Does that mean like a shelter? Is that a boom box? Is that a shelter?
Oh, maybe that's a shelter. There are shelters. There's not shelters for everybody.
That's funny.
And we learned that yesterday as well. When in the old city, I interviewed a lot of people from the old city, and nobody there has a shelter.
We're talking about, specified that we're talking more about like the Christian, the Muslim quarter, the Armenian quarter without shelters. The Jewish quarter does have.
Oh, no, but wait. Broria's parents do not have a shelter.
Yeah, but they have shelters within the Jewish quarter, I'm sure.
Maybe, but they don't have a shelter to go to in the middle of the night. So, yeah, so.
And one of the sirens in the old city is opposite my mother's house.
Oh, my God.
So they hear the sirens.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Yeah, it also depends where the siren is located, and it can be really loud. So Carol is asking, any update about Pakistan hitting a hospital in Afghanistan? No, I didn't check it out, and I should check it out. And I want to know what, because they just wiped out 400 people in one day. How is that not as much in the news as all of this stuff that I'm talking about? Like that, I think in all of this war, I think they're saying it's over 2,000 people were killed over around like 10 to 15 nations. So anyway, that's obviously a lot. But if they did 400 in one shot, there was no strike in any of this war that killed that many people in one shot, like not in any of the countries. And I mean, just so you know, like I kind of limited this broadcast to like just talking about the rocket barrage that we're expecting still, like there was a small one before, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to be happening. So that's like Lebanon, Israel. Well, it's Hezbollah, Israel. Then what happened in Iran with the strikes, and then just Iraq itself, because I think that's a place to watch, like what could happen there with the militias, with the Iranian militias, and it seems like the U.S. assets have come under a lot of attack in Iraq, but there are a lot of other countries involved, and I didn't talk about them today as much, but everywhere from even Turkey and Azerbaijan, all the way to the west, Cyprus, which now seems to be like off the hot seat, but then all the way back to the east to Oman and the UAE and Bahrain. And I didn't even talk about the Strait of Hormuz. And anyway, so let's see, I think Iran shot at everybody because no one wanted to help them. Now, that's one theory. And then another theory that people are saying that they're shooting them so that these Gulf states will pressure Iran, or pressure America to end the war. Like if they get their financial buildings and facilities and assets taken out, and their energy assets, that if it's going to damage their pocketbook, then they would pressure America to stop the war. So that's another theory, by the way, Mike, that I've heard. So again, I am just telling you all the theories I've heard. I'm not necessarily giving you my own. I mean, I don't think I've given you my, honestly, I don't know. And I don't talk about a lot of what the politicians are saying, because they aren't always speaking straight. And in any case, if you just got all of Trump's statements like on one piece of paper over the last couple days, they go like, like this, like there, it's not, he doesn't say the same thing twice. And I think that what he says doesn't matter. He already has a plan, and the plan is just going to happen. And we don't know the plan. So that's why I don't get caught up in the politics part of it. So anyway, that is my theory. The rest of it is not. The rest of it, I'm just quoting other people, but that is my theory for sure. But all right. Well, anyway, thank you for joining yet again. Another fun conversation. And yeah, let me find out about Afghanistan. Let me put it on my list right now, because if it's not like open in my face on the phone right now, I won't remember it. So
happening with this war for us to even.
I know, like I said, there's like 15 countries involved here, let alone, all right, Afghanistan. And when I open my phone, it'll be the first thing I see. And and Jennifer chimes in with no need to cover what the politicians are saying. They either lie intentionally or repeat lies they were told that they think are true. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah. So I'm avoiding that part. I just I think it's more important to understand how people's lives are being impacted in all of these countries, because like I said, it's not just about us over here and what we're going through, though I do share some of that. And you can check out Substack for that, because I write my random stream of consciousness on those notes over there. And so, yeah, but what is happening? I wonder how the people in Abu Dhabi are doing, and Bahrain, and in Qatar, and in Oman, and Kuwait, and Iraq, and there, also were a few drones in Azerbaijan. There were some missiles in Turkey, and there were some air raid sirens in, what do you call it, in Cyprus, and then Gaza. And Gaza is not in the headlines anymore. Oh, and Lebanon, of course. And Carla, yes, I was getting to Gaza. I was doing the big circle going south. and Gaza. And by the way, not just Gaza, but the West Bank. There's a lot of news in the West Bank. There has been more violence in the West Bank by settlers against Palestinians since the war began. And many people are speculating that it's because of the fog of war that they can get away with more. In fact, a family was just killed. A family of 4 was just killed. There's an investigation right now, but kids, 2 kids and 2 parents. So anyway, yeah, in Gaza, I think all the time, the weather that we have, they have. So how do you live in a tent or in a bombed out building in this cold weather? It's so crazy.
Christopher Sean says F Israel.
Yes. Okay. I won't repeat that. We have kids in the house.
Yep.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you all for joining. We're gonna go now. We're gonna go wait for the barrage. And thanks for joining. Hit like, and I will catch you probably tomorrow.